Hey guys, it's Whitney, and today we're going to talk about something a little bit different. Today we're going to talk about writing. For a while now I've wanted to start a writing series on my channel and I just haven't gotten around to doing it yet, so I'm doing it. Today I wanted to kind of go over how I got into writing, seeing as it's a really common question that most writers get asked. Honestly, I would say that my journey with writing really started before I ever actually put any words onto the page. For pretty much as long as I can remember, I have been really into anime. I was into things like Sailor Moon and Card Captors, Pokemon, Dot Hack Sign, Yu Yu Hakusho, Yu-Gi-Oh, Cowboy Bebop. I started developing my own ideas about the story in my mind. For instance, I came up with something called The Secret Sailor Scout, and it never made it to paper, but it formed in my mind. And basically it was something where I had put myself into that world, and I would think about what kind of situations would we get into and what kind of monsters would we fight and things like that. Then I started to get into drawing, which I mean, I had always liked to draw and I still like to draw. But at this point I remember I was drawing Sailor Scouts and I got really into Gundam. I ended up drawing like all of the Gundam pilots as females or sisters of the Gundam pilots. If you've ever watched Gundam, then you'll get a better idea of what I'm trying to say. So I would consider those my earliest writing encounters, even though the story never made it onto paper. When I wrote my first piece of fiction, it was not original fiction, it was actually Harry Potter fan fiction. I remember how I got interested in Harry Potter. It was because my neighbor kept running around talking about things in the books, and I don't remember asking for them, but my grandma told me that I did ask for them, and she got me the first 2 books. I know I read them before the first movie came out, but I can't remember how old I was. I was somewhere in the 9 to 11 range, and I literally got hooked on the Harry Potter Dialogue Center. It was like this forum board that they used to have that is shut down now and is very sad because they have a lot of very good memories on that site. In 7th grade, I wrote my first original piece of fiction. It was a class assignment and we were learning about story structure. And I remember we were given a list of categories that we could write about. And my whole goal for some reason was to include all of them in my story, and it's only like a 3-page story. I still have it. I remember my teacher handing it back to me and asking me to read it in front of the class, and I fucking panicked. Thankfully, I had a great teacher and she understood the anxiety of reading in front of a class, and she let me pick one of my friends or have one of my friends volunteer, I can't remember which it was, to read my story for me, so I didn't have to do it. I mean, it was still embarrassing as hell, but everybody seemed to like it, so that made it better. Essentially, that story was just about a girl who was on a volleyball team. Yes, I was super obsessed with volleyball, and that is the only sport I like to this day. And she ends up being sucked into this fantasy world where she gets like captured and then rescued, and I don't know what my brain was doing then. But that is what got me started with original fiction, and so I am very thankful that I had that assignment and that I had that teacher. After that assignment, I didn't really write all that much. I know that I kept stories in my head, and I had a bad habit, like I still do today, of starting something and then like abandoning it, except for then it was really bad and I would write like a paragraph or something and be like, oh, I'll come back to this later, and I never went back to it. But I did always finish my fan fiction, and I know that I have some stories lying around that are my friends and their favorite celebrities at the time, and they're in a binder somewhere, and those were just fun little things for me to write for my friends because they enjoyed it. I don't remember when exactly it happened, but I started learning to build websites. I know I was around 13 years old, but when I started learning to build these websites, they were fandom based, Harry Potter mainly, but anyway, it taught me to build websites. Eventually, I started using pro boards and running a pen and paper or mouse and keyboard RPG where it was all written text. After that, I started venturing out and creating original pen and paper RPG boards using pro boards. If I can find any old screenshots of those websites, I'll leave them here. I haven't really been on an RPG board in years though. It's been a long time. I ended up abandoning one that was based on an original piece that I had started because my co-admin, who I had known for a few years at that point that I met on the Harry Potter Dialogue Center, vanished. We had become the type of friends who talked every day. I mean, we talked on AOL Messenger, but the point is that we talked every day. If we were online, we were talking. And at one point I had his phone number and we would text message, and he stopped responding to text messages. And then he stopped responding to the posts on the board. From there, things just kind of went downhill. But anyway, that's a story for another time. So currently, the last original piece of fiction that I finished was in 2009 or 2010, which was my junior or senior year of high school. I haven't finished anything original since I was in high school, and that's something I am trying really hard right now to change. I have set a new goal for myself. It's right back here on this calendar. I'm not doing so great, but I'm doing a lot better than I was. And the goal is to write a minimum of 500 words a day. And I'm also not going to make a huge deal about it if I don't make that goal, as long as I do something productive with my story. The main thing is that I don't want myself to simply think about my stories. I want to put them down on paper. I'm sure a lot of you know that I have participated in NaNoWriMo for a long time. I think it's 2012 was my first NaNoWriMo, and I haven't finished one. I'm gonna admit that. I just, for some reason, cannot break 30K. So I have a ton of stories sitting around 20,000, 30,000 words, abandoned. My biggest goal for this year is to finish one of them, and the one that I have in mind right now is my story that I'm just calling Acurum. And if you're wondering, Acurum is a combination of two Latin words that means starry-eyed. It's a fantasy novel, and at the moment it is sitting at around 25,000 words, and I am maybe a third of the way through. After I put it down from last year's NaNoWriMo, I had to do a reread, which is a big no-no, but it's okay because I have learned not to judge my crappy first drafts, and I just read them for what they are. I did learn some things that I needed to flesh out a little bit more, so I have been working on that, and some really interesting things have cropped up and changed about the story, so a lot of rewrites are going to have to be done in that first half. A lot more than will probably be done in the second and third part. I'm not sure how often videos like this are going to come to the channel, but I do want to ask all of you guys, if you have any questions that you would like me to answer about writing, please leave them down below in the comments so that I can do that, or you can tweet me on Twitter, and my handle is @DexyFace. I'll leave that somewhere so that you guys can find it. Also, if you are a writer and you have a channel or you have a Twitter, feel free to leave the link to that down below so that I can go and check out your channel or check out your Twitter. But that is it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed. Please give it a thumbs up if you did. That is it for today, and I will see you guys very soon with another video. Bye!
Life is the pain of the pictures in my mind. The fear is the child.